Hey everyone, welcome to the video. Let's go over the 4-game NBA slate for today on Draftkings. But before we continue, as always, if you guys could just leave a like, and if you're new to the channel, please hit that subscribe button. Really helps me out. Really appreciate it. You also follow me on Twitter at Pennell16. And if you want to support me on Patreon, it means a lot. I do appreciate everyone that supports me on Patreon already. But if you do want to join, you get access to all my extra content that I literally work on all day. And I'm pretty happy with the stuff I put out, and I think you guys would like it as well. It's just a preview of my NBA spreadsheet that I'm showing you guys right now. Finalized version, obviously it's going to be updated all the way up until lock tomorrow. But if you are interested in just NBA, you get access to my NBA spreadsheet that I build every single night for the NBA season. Projections, my entire data sheet that's color coded, my Discord chat where you can chat with me all day. You can bug me as much as you want, or you can just come hang out. Either way, it works. And you get access to the DVP chart, my cheat sheet, and my core plays. Again, that update everything up until lock, because you know how crazy NBA DFS can get from 6 p.m. to 7 p.m. Eastern Standard Time. And NASCAR is coming up. Actually, the first race is going to be on Sunday, February 9th. So if you want to sign up for NASCAR, it's the same link. You can just sign up. It's $10 a month, and it's more of a niche sport, but that's what I really like about it, because not a lot of people know what's going on in NASCAR. So I feel like that's where I have my biggest edge, and it's actually been my best sport profit-wise for just DFS purposes. So I'm very excited for NASCAR. Hopefully you guys are as well. It's what I started doing on this channel when I first started out on YouTube. So if you want to check it out, NASCAR's coming up. Then we have MLB starting up, later in the spring, and I mean that's a very data-driven sport. My spreadsheet's got about like over 20 tabs for that, maybe 20 to 30 tabs. It's a lot of data going in for MLB, but I really, really enjoy MLB and NASCAR, so I'm very excited for those seasons to start up. So again, if you guys want access to my extra content, support me over there on Patreon. Links in the description below. And without further ado, let's get into today's slate. So all the way up top, we have James Harden coming in at 12,000, and he is arguably the best spend up on the slate. We have Giannis here at 11,400 in an elite matchup versus New Orleans, but James Harden is also going to be playing without Russell Westbrook on the court because he's listed as doubtful with a thumb injury, I believe, if I read that right. So it's not looking like he's going to play, and if Russell Westbrook's off the court, James Harden is just an absolute elite play. If we just head over to the numbers right now, his numbers are already great. So let's see. He's averaging 37 minutes per game, 1.61 points per minute, and a 36.9% usage rate. If you take Westbrook and Capella off the court, which is going to be the case, the numbers for Harden are absolutely insane. 49.9% usage rate. 49. He basically has the ball in his hand half the time he's on the court. That's by far the best in the league. And, Giannis is at 38%. So, I mean, that's pretty much leads the league. James Harden's at 49% with those guys off the court. And he's at 1.98 points per minute. Giannis leads the league at 1.9. James Harden's numbers go all the way up to 1.98. Now, obviously, it's a smaller sample size, but it's a pretty decent enough sample size. So he's pretty much averaging 2 points per minute. And he's going to play more minutes than Giannis does on average, just on average, I should say. As you can see, 37 minutes per game for Harden, 30 minutes per game for Giannis, and I got Harden projected for 38. Would not surprise me if he ended up playing 40 minutes as long as the game's competitive. So James Harden, he's obviously an excellent play. Matchup versus Charlotte's not great. They're actually the slowest paced team in the NBA. As you can see, they're ranked 30th in pace, while Houston is 3rd, so they play very fast. So they're going to look to push the pace here. Only concerning thing would be a 13.5 point spread, but James Harden's on the court pretty much the whole game. There's games where they'll be up 20 to 30 points, and Harden's still on the court getting his stats because that's just what James Harden does. So either way, he's going to see 30 plus minutes. And if you're going to give me 2 points per minute, I mean, he's probably a lock for 60 plus points in my opinion, with upside of 80 to 90, to be honest. As far-fetched as that sound, that's definitely in the cards here. So you can certainly look James Harden's way. Don't really care about the matchup or how good they are in defense or the pace. It's James Harden without Russell Westbrook and Clint Capella on the court. Gotta have interest. Now, Giannis, he comes in at 11,400, and this is the best game of the night, and it's also only a 6-point spread. So I could see people flocking to Giannis over Harden, but I personally want to try to fit in both, and I think there's enough value to do so, because I'm not going to pay up for three of these 10K plus guys, and there's quite a few guys in the mid-range and quite a few value plays, so I think it's going to be plausible to fit in these two top-end studs if you choose to do so. Totally get it if it doesn't work out roster construction wise. Again, I have not tried to make a lineup yet. I don't start building an hour before lock because I don't want to get stuck on a lineup that I like, and I just don't want to. It's what works for me. It's been a good season, so I do what works. And I obviously would not try to make a lineup the night before the games actually start. But if you can fit both of these guys in, I totally think that's fine just because Giannis is an elite spot here. And if the game stays close, I mean, maybe he pushes for near 35 minutes. And if Giannis gets about 35 minutes, we know he's got 80-plus point upside. He's just amazing on a point-per-minute basis. I already touched on it a little bit ago. 1.9 points per minute, 38% usage rate. Now, the sucky thing is he only averages 30 minutes per game because Milwaukee's just a very good team. They tend to blow people out. But with a 6-point spread, that gives me some confidence here. And this game's going to be a track meet. We have the two fastest pace of play teams in the NBA. Milwaukee is first, while New Orleans is second. The addition of Zion just adds some extra spice to the New Orleans lineup, which going to make games closer. As you can see, 6-point spread. If Zion didn't exist, probably not going to be a 6-point spread. So definitely like Giannis here. I mean, he's great on a point-per-minute basis. We have a 245 total, which is going to be by far the highest on the slate. 125.5 implied team total. Nothing really not to like about Giannis here, and it's the first game of the night, and I think he's a tremendous play. If you can fit both of him and James Harden in the same lineup, I totally think that's fine. Now, the tough question, I guess, would be is if you can only play one, is it James Harden or Giannis? I agree, that's a tough question. I'm not sure if I can totally answer that at the moment. I do like that Giannis is a little bit cheaper, and I like that he's in the better game environment, but you know, the numbers with Westbrook and Capella off the court, 2 points per minute, and he's going to play more minutes, more than likely. It's tough. I guess I'm not totally sure yet. I can't give you a definitive answer, but just know it's going to be close. I've not ran my projections yet, but I feel like it's going to give Harden the edge just because I got him for more minutes. So I guess I'd say projection-wise Harden, but I just love the game environment for Giannis. I think they're both great plays, and if I can fit both in, I would love to do so. But I'm not sure how roster construction is going to look like, because we might get hit with some more injury news throughout the day. And actually, the 10 p.m. games are going on right now, so I'm just going to pause this really quick and check how De'Aaron Fox is doing. It's not going to be a long pause for you guys because I'm just going to press pause and I'll play it, but just give me 1 second. Okay, I'm back. I was just checking the scores. De'Aaron Fox is doing pretty good, but this was a very high-scoring night. I mean, a lot of the chalk went off. Kevin Love, and we're just going to break away from this slate really quick. I just want to talk about this slate. Kevin Love, he got, 63 fantasy points. Kristaps got 59. DeAndre Ayton got 57. All chalk plays. Unfortunately, so I have 350 something at the moment, I think. And I played Reggie Jackson, which, he made sense. But I could, same price, Karis LeVert was right there. If I did the Karis LeVert change, I'd be in second place right now, which sucks to think about. But I wouldn't have played Karis LeVert over Reggie Jackson anyway, so I really can't beat myself up too much. But just hate seeing that kind of stuff. But yeah, hopefully you guys did well in this slate. Very high scoring, so hopefully you guys scored in the mid 300s at least. But anyway, back into the slate, I should say. Giannis, I didn't show you guys the DVP chart, but New Orleans is one of the worst defensive teams in the league. They're ranked 21st versus power forwards, 19th versus small forwards. Elite matchup here for Giannis. I think he's a tremendous play. Going down the list here, that's for all the players. So going down the list here, we got LeBron here, comes in at 10,100. So if you can't fit in Harden and Giannis, I think it's going to be pretty easy to fit in a Harden or Giannis with a guy like LeBron, Jokic, or Davis. That might be a little bit more doable, and especially Anthony Davis that comes in at 9,300. But let's talk about LeBron first. He comes in at 10,100. Gotta have interest here. I always have interest on LeBron when he's not in the 11K range, and he's closer to the 9K range. So certainly have interest here at 10,100. Not like it's an elite game environment here, but San Antonio does struggle versus guards. If you're gonna keep doing that, aren't I? So if you look at the DVP chart, San Antonio is 22nd versus point guards, 21st versus small forwards, whatever you want to call LeBron. Again, really don't care about matchups too much when it comes to LeBron, but it's always nice when you get a plus matchup anyway. And on the season, he's over 1.5 points per minute, 1.53 points per minute, over a 31% usage rate. I think he's just a safe play at 10,100. He's probably not going to kill your lineup. He's probably going to get you 50 plus fantasy points. That's just what LeBron does. Now, this is a 12-point spread, so there's always concern that he doesn't get all the fourth quarter run in the world. But like the spot here, I don't like projecting blowouts, so you can certainly look his way. Although I do prefer Anthony Davis at a nicer price point, 9,300, but I still think LeBron's fine. And Nikola Jokic, he comes in at 10,000. He's coming off an 82-point game, triple-double. I believe it was a triple-double, but he absolutely balled out. He's been a little bit hit or miss this season, but love the spot here versus Portland. They're one of the worst defensive teams in the NBA. I believe they are 7th or 6th worst, if I'm counting off the top of my head. I think it's 6th worst, actually. But as you can see, they really struggle down low. They rank 24th versus centers, 26th versus power forwards. This is an awesome spot for Nikola Jokic. And like I said, he's been a little bit hit or miss, but I think this is going to be one of those hit spots, especially versus Portland. Tight 4.5 point spread, which I do like as well. It's pretty big pace up spot for the Nuggets. They're 28th in pace of play, while Portland is 12th. So always like getting guys in pace up spots, especially a guy like Jokic. And on the season, he's at 1.41 points per minute with a 26% usage rate. And got him projected for over 35 minutes here, so I think he's a pretty strong play at 10,000. I know what you're thinking. Damian Lillard is not on here, but I just can't do it, guys. I know I've been fading him and it doesn't work, but he just can't keep putting up like 70, 80 point games every single night. And I don't like the spot here versus Denver. They're one of the best defensive teams in the NBA, and they're one of the slowest teams in the NBA. So if he gets 70 plus again, it might burn me in a 4-game slate, but I just personally would rather play James Harden, Giannis, LeBron, Jokic, or Anthony Davis over Damian Lillard. You can play him in tournaments, but just it's my personal preference and it's my video, so he's just not on here. You can play him. Maybe I'll get backlash in the comments for not liking Lillard, but the hot stretch isn't going to continue all season, and it's got to come to an end at some point. And I just feel like I'm point chasing, to be honest. I just think there's better plays at a better price point on this slate. So no Damian Lillard from me. If you guys want to play him, I won't talk you off of him, but I just personally don't want to do it. Anthony Davis, though, he comes in at 9,300. I think he's the better Laker play between the two, and he really should never be this cheap. I don't understand Draftkings sometimes. I'm not totally sure why they'd price Anthony Davis all the way down here. He's had a couple of really good games recently as well. Well, he only had about 40 points in the last game, but that's because it was a blowout, so he didn't get fourth quarter run, but he was on his way to a pretty good game. Then he had that huge game versus Portland, had a much better game than LeBron, and his numbers are pretty similar to LeBron as well. If you look at their numbers, he's at 1.45 points per minute, slightly less than LeBron, but he's also about 1,000 cheaper, 29.4% usage rate. And Anthony Davis, he's got 70, 80 point upside every single time he's on the court. He's been a little bit inconsistent this season, but 9,300, that kind of makes up for it, especially with a guy with his kind of upside. And this is a pretty darn good matchup versus San Antonio. Like I said, they're one of the worst defensive teams in the NBA. They struggle more versus guards than they do versus big men, but I still think he's fine. They got 120 implied team total. Anthony Davis at 9,300 is just extremely too cheap. And like I said, if you can't go double high end with Harden and Giannis, I think it's a good idea to pair one of those guys with a guy maybe like Anthony Davis, just because of the price point, 9,300. Then you can build a more balanced lineup. So Anthony Davis, I think he's a tremendous play. He should grade as a pretty good point per dollar option. I'm not writing my projections all the way yet. I think I had some preliminary projections, but 9,300, I mean, he's going to grade out as a pretty good point per dollar option at that price point. So going on a little bit, we have Zion here at 7,100. This is pretty much a tier break. So we got these 12K guys to 9K guys. Then we go all the way down to the 7,100 range, which is over 2K cheaper than Anthony Davis. So dropping down a price range here, but I want exposure to this game. Bright green 245 total here, as you're going to see. No other game's going to come close to this. Now, I guess maybe I shouldn't say not close. Well, I don't think the Rockets are going to get to near 240 total, especially because Charlotte's they play so slow. So I expect them to probably be in the mid 230s, but I don't think they're going to touch 240. So this should be by far the highest total on the slate. Got to have interest here. The Pelicans have 119.5 implied team total. Nice 6-point spread versus Milwaukee. And like I said, this game is going to be a track meet. The Pelicans are second in pace of play. Wow. Milwaukee is first in pace of play, so I love track meet games like this. I will say Milwaukee is pretty good defensively, not like New Orleans where they're really bad defensively. Milwaukee is all the way down here, not like all the way down here, but they're above average, as you can see. And they rank 10th versus power forwards, 15th versus centers, so a little bit softer versus centers. And Zion's power forward center eligible, and he's going to play down low. And the guy's a freak athlete, so he's really not that guardable. And I don't think he's going to have too much trouble with Brook Lopez, but he's going to see a lot of Giannis, and that could be a problem because he's one of the best defenders in the league. But Zion at this price tag at 7,100, I certainly have interest. On a point per minute basis this season, he's been at 1.26 points per minute, so he's been very good on a point per minute basis. A 27% usage rate. Now he's only averaging 26 minutes per game, but his minutes have been increasing. I got him for 32 minutes here, which may seem a little bit aggressive, but if you're going to give me 32 minutes out of Zion in this kind of game environment, in this kind of matchup, just in terms of pace of play, he's going to be a pretty good play in my opinion. So 7,100 for Zion in an elite game environment, sign me up. So certainly have interest. Just continuing the trend here, we got a couple Pelicans to talk about next. Brandon Ingram, he comes in at 7K. He had a tremendous game last time out. And actually, the last game, I believe, was versus Memphis. He was going to have another 50-point game, but he didn't play in the fourth quarter because they were blowing them out. But Brandon Ingram, 7K. This is just a bit too cheap here. Now, he might see his fair share of Giannis defense, but I still think he's going to be fine. I love the game environment here, fast-paced game. On the season, he's been very good, 1.24 points per minute, 28.7% usage rate. Now, I will say he's seen a pretty big hit with Zion on the court, and Zion's been playing more minutes too. But, I think this price point makes him safer because, Brandon Ingram was paying over, he was like at 9K at some point in the season. Now he's all the way down to 7K. So he doesn't need to do what he was doing earlier in the season. 7K, he can tone it down a little bit. If he gets me about 40 fantasy points, not a little bit more, he's going to be fine. And if he's going to get 35 minutes, 1.24 points per minute, obviously that comes down a little bit with Zion, but he should be still pretty solid play. I love the game environment here. He's been a great player all season. Got to have interest in Brandon Ingram. He's going to grade as a pretty good point per dollar option, more than likely in my opinion. Drew Holiday, 6,900. He had a little bit of a down game in the last time out, but the 2 prior games before that, he was playing very well. Had a 50-point game mixed in there, and 6,900. He's going to play, mid-30s minutes, and again, track meet game. Both teams play very fast. On the season, he's been over a point per minute, 1.13 points per minute, 25% usage rate. Now, Milwaukee, I believe they're more mid-pack versus guards. Yeah, 13th versus point guards, but 8th versus shooting guards. So, it's not the greatest matchup in the world, but again, this is a 4-game slate, so we can't get too picky, but I like the game environment here. 245 total games should stay close. Someone's going to score a lot of points in this game, and not someone. I think a lot of people are going to, but I think Drew Holiday certainly has the capabilities of putting up a 50-point game. Not real life points, but fantasy point wise, I should say. Devontae Graham, so this is going to break the string of Pelicans, only to talk about another Pelican next with Lonzo, but Devontae Graham, he's been playing very, very rough lately. Just pretty darn bad. His price is at 6,800, which is nice, though, and I like the game environment here, especially versus Houston. I don't like that the 13.5-point underdogs here, but massive pace-up spot here for the Charlotte Hornets. They're 30th pace of play while Houston is 3rd, so love getting guys in pace-up spots. And he's going to play over 35 minutes. He's at 1.04 points per minute on the season, 24.7% usage rate. But this is an elite matchup versus Houston, one of the worst defensive teams in the NBA. And they're ranked 23rd versus point guards, 27 versus shooting guards. So this is an elite spot for Terry Rozier, for Devontae Graham. So you can certainly look his way. I don't know if I'd play him in cash games just because of how bad he's been playing, but you can certainly look his way in GPPs. Lonzo Ball, he's been playing very well recently. I don't really like playing Lonzo at this price point unless guys are out, but he's been playing well. He's had a string of 40-point games. I think he had a 50-point game mixed in there. I'm not totally sure. But he's been around that 40-point range, and he's been playing pretty darn well. 6,700 is not a bad price tag either. And like I said, Milwaukee does rank 13th versus point guards, and on the season, he's been about a point per minute guy, 1.03 points per minute, 19% usage rate, does a little bit of everything in the stat sheet, which makes him a little bit safer because he's not completely reliant on scoring because he's not the best scorer in the world, but he's going to get you your rebounds, your assists, your steals, maybe throw a block in there or two. So Lonzo certainly have interest in him. Going to play mid-30s minutes, so anyone from this game I'll pretty much take because it's only a 4-game slate, so pretty much want to take the players from the best game, and certainly this Milwaukee-New Orleans game is the best game on the slate. LaMarcus Aldridge, he's balling out right now. Last time I looked, I know he ended the first quarter with like 12 points, 4 boards, 5 assists. Great first quarter. I don't remember how he's doing right now, but I think he had a decent second quarter, but couldn't tell you. But I have to imagine he's having a pretty good game. And 6,200, look, I don't like the matchup versus LA. They're a very, very good defensive team, especially versus big men. As you can see, they rank they're the 3rd best defensive team overall, and they rank 3rd versus power forwards, 2nd versus centers. But 6,200 for Aldridge is just a bit too cheap, and I think he's coming off a good game. As far as I know, as far as I know, he's probably having a good game right now. So 6,200, that's just a bit too cheap. He's going to play mid-30s minutes, and they're going to need his size out there to hang with the big bodies on LA. He's at 1.1 points per minute on the season, 22% usage rate. No, he's fine. Just 6,200 is just a bit too cheap. He's going to grade out as a pretty good point per dollar option play despite the bad matchup. Now we go into the 5K tier. We're going to talk about another Spur here, and we got Murray here at 5K. Now his minutes are always sporadic. He's never really going to get hit 30 minutes, but he's pretty good on a point per minute basis, as you can see. 1.09 points per minute with a 20% usage rate. He's had 2 pretty good games in a row. And LA does actually struggle a bit versus guards. They're a very good defensive team versus big men, but versus guards, 18th versus point guards, 12th versus shooting guards. So a little bit of their soft spot there. You can attack them. Not down low, really, but, with guards, they do struggle a little bit versus them. And Murray, he's been fine. He can pop off. And, if he's going to play close to 30 minutes, he'll be fine. If he's going to play low 20s minutes, probably not going to get there, but I got him projected for about 27 here. Minutes are a little bit sporadic, but I like him on a point per minute basis. And if he gets over 25 minutes, I think he can get close to 30 fantasy points. So I do have some interest in Murray at 5K. Derek Favors, don't love him because his minutes aren't really there, and he's been pretty much scoring like 22 points every single game. I think he had a pretty good game mixed in there for like 30 to 40 points, but for the most part, he's been around this 20-point range. He's not going to play huge minutes. He's only averaging, 24 minutes per game. Got him for about 25.5 minutes here. And obviously Zion's hurting him a little bit. Not a little bit, quite a bit. But got to like the game environment here. And Milwaukee does struggle with big men. Game's going to be a track meet. Pretty good on a point per minute basis. 1.15 points per minute. Low usage rate, 15%. But, he's not a high usage kind of player. He's got double-double upside. And I love it at 4,900 just because he's not going to play a ton of minutes. And he's been stuck in this 20-point range. But he's fine. Pretty good on a point per minute basis. Got to get exposure to this game. And you can't be too picky on a 4-game slate. PJ Washington, I have not played him yet this season, and he is questionable to play. But if he's good to go, he's 4,600, and I got him projected for over 30 minutes here versus Houston. And it's obviously an elite spot versus Houston. And on the season, he's at 0.83 points per minute, which isn't too bad for this price point. But you got to like the spot here. Big pace-up spot for the Hornets. And Houston's one of the worst teams in the league versus forwards, 25th versus small forwards, 28th versus power forwards. Got to like the spot for PJ here if he's good to go. If he's not good to go, well, you can't play him, but, I like the spot for him. PJ Tucker, with Capella being out, he's going to see more minutes, just down low. And I hate playing PJ Tucker because whenever I play him, he gets like 12 points. And whenever I don't play him, he gets like 20 rebounds and 30 fantasy points. That's just how it goes. But, the guy's, he's not a fun roster ever. He's got the lowest usage rate ever, 8%, and he's only at 0.62 points per minute. He averages 35 minutes per game, but he's just so bad on a point per minute basis. But this is a good matchup versus Charlotte. They really struggle versus power forwards / centers. And, PJ Tucker, you got two PJs in a row here. PJ's going to see run at the 5 and at the 4. And Charlotte really struggles versus those positions. 27 versus power forwards, 30th versus centers. PJ Tucker, I think he can get double-digit rebounds here. I keep pressing the wrong button. I think PJ Tucker can get double-digit rebounds here. Now, scoring-wise, doesn't really do any scoring. I don't even think he scored in the last game. But, if you luck out and he hits a corner 3 or 2, you're going to be looking probably pretty good here at 4,400. He really doesn't see too much of a boost with Russell Westbrook off the court, but I'll never forget that game versus Atlanta when Russell Westbrook missed the game and Tucker had like 18 rebounds and he ended up crushing. So he's fine. It's a good matchup, and he's going to play all the minutes he can handle at 4,400, certainly on my radar. Malik Monk. So I'm basically running out of value options at this point, so I threw a couple of guys on besides Austin Rivers. I think he's a pretty strong play, but Malik Monk, he's fine. I got him projected close to 30 minutes here. Got him for 27.5. He's at 0.82 points per minute on this season. It's a big pace-up spot versus Houston. They really do struggle versus guards. As you can see at the DVP chart, they rank 23rd versus point guards, 27th versus shooting guards. He's fine. He's not going to see the most minutes in the world, but again, there's not a lot of options on a small slate like this. Dante DiVincenzo, he comes in at 4,200. He's just a pretty solid player. Again, just want exposure to this game. And New Orleans, they're one of the worst teams in the league versus guards, and actually, they're the worst team in the league versus point guards. They rank 30th versus, actually, I guess they got a little bit better. Last time I looked, they were 30th. I guess Cleveland took that honor of being dead last at 30th. They just let Elfrid Payton absolutely smash them. That game was pretty fun, actually. What was that, 137, 134? But, yeah, New Orleans, they got their spot dethroned by Cleveland. But they're 29th versus point guards, 16th versus shooting guards, 19th versus small forwards. It's a pretty good spot for DiVincenzo. Now, he's not going to play the most minutes in the world considering Giannis is playing. Really only have too much interest in him when Giannis is out. But 4,200 is not a bad price tag. And, again, we can't get too picky on a 4-game slate. And he's at 0.96 points per minute on the season, 16% usage rate. He's going to get about 24 minutes. I think he's a safe bet for over 20 fantasy points. So you could certainly look his way. Love the spot versus New Orleans. And then the last guy, I could see him being pretty popular because of the price point. He's going to allow us to fit in our studs. We got Austin Rivers, who's going to more than likely see over 30 minutes with Russell Westbrook being off the court. Now, he's not good on a point per minute basis, 0.69 points per minute with a 15% usage rate. But if you take Westbrook off the court, that goes up to 0.78 points per minute and a 17.8% usage rate, which that'll get the job done at 3,600 if you're going to see 30-plus minutes. Not the greatest matchup versus Charlotte, but again, it's a 4-game slate. Filling in for Westbrook, 3,600. Got to have interest. That's pretty much going to be it for the player pool rundown. Now, I do have to talk about overlaydfs.com really quick, so I'll see you guys over there in a second. So, guys, if you've already been watching my channel, you already know what this is. But if you're new to the channel, this is sponsor of the show, overlaydfs.com. It's a new, fun, more casual-suited DFS player website, and it's as simple as it sounds. It's a pick'em based website. There's no salary cap restrictions, and there's no sharks here. You don't have to worry about guys like Chipotle and those kind of guys. Just a pick'em based website. If you thought Damian Lee was going to outscore Thomas Bryant tonight, you picked Damian Lee. If you thought Draymond was going to outscore Marcus Morris, you picked Draymond. If you thought Porzingis was going to outscore Valanciunas. You picked Porzingis, which I thought was a lock. That Valanciunas ended up going nuts. I mean, I thought I had the Porzingis pick easily after what he did, but Valanciunas went absolutely nuts. But not my best night over here, but it's been a pretty fun not season because it's been recently, but I've been really enjoying playing on overlaydfs.com. I would not recommend it to you guys if I didn't play it there myself. A lot of good people over there. So check it out, overlaydfs.com. It's as simple as it sounds. You just pick whoever you think is going to score the most fantasy points, and if you happen to go 12-0 on your picks, you can win a jackpot of over $8,500. As you can see, that's been raising. When I first started out over here and I reached out to me, that jackpot was around $4K. It's getting close to $9,000, and if you happen to go 12-0 on your picks, you can take that home with you, and they do pay you out quick. It's a legit website. It's not a scam website. They will pay you out quick. And I'm not talking about just into your account balance. I'm talking about into your bank account balance. Like that quick. I withdraw it around 1 a.m. one time, and it was in my actual bank account. Like I'm talking to my account balance, withdraw to PayPal into my bank account by around like 3:30 a.m. They pay you out quick. So I did really like that. They paid you out quicker than Draftkings. And I don't have a promo code or anything, and I'm not going to put the link in the description below because I don't want to get banned on YouTube. So check it out, overlaydfs.com. Also running a slump buster challenge where if you happen to lose 20 days in a row, that doesn't mean consecutive days. If you played 1 day a week for 20 weeks in a row, that counts. And you lose every single day, they will refund every single dollar that you deposited on their website. So check it out, guys. I really do enjoy playing over here. If you need help on who to pick, you can use my projections. Now I know it's not the greatest showing of me. I went 7-5 tonight, did not do that well, but most nights I've been doing pretty well. And to cash here, you have to finish in the top 10% of the contest. And if you finish top 10% of the contest, you win 9 extra money. So for example, this is the $22 double deuce contest. If you happen to place in the top 10%, you win 9 extra money, which is $180. Simple as that. I do like the payout structure here. It's a pretty fun website. So check it out, overlaydfs.com. That's going to be it for this video, guys. I hope it was helpful. If it was, remember to leave a like. If new to the channel, please hit that subscribe button. Really helps me out. Really appreciate it. You also follow me on Twitter at ChrisPennell16. If you want to support me on Patreon, which would be pretty cool if you wanted to, links in the description below for that. You can get access to my NBA spreadsheet, MLB when that comes out, and NASCAR. I would recommend signing up for NASCAR because I'm very excited for the NASCAR season. I got to do an article on there, projections, my data sheet, all that good stuff. It's a niche sport, which I really like. It's a niche sport because not a lot of people know what's going on, so I feel like I got a pretty big edge. So check it out. See you guys in the next video. Enjoy your Tuesday. I will not because I got to get up at 7 a.m. That's terrible. So hopefully you guys have a better Tuesday than I will.